cold mountain night, wind howling through the rocks. The SEAL commander looked through binoculars, saw 3 enemy generals in the command tent. He sighed, shaking his head. No one can make that shot. Out of range. A female voice spoke from behind. "Give me a chance." The entire unit turned around. A small woman, brown hair tied low, setting a Barrett rifle on sandbags. 3 shots tore through the wind. 3 targets dropped instantly. Silence. No one called her just a medic anymore. Claire Donovan, 28 years old. Long brown hair, green eyes, compact build at 5'4", sun-weathered skin. Primary job, battlefield medic, usually assigned to carry stretchers, patch wounds, prepare medical supplies. At the forward base, Claire always did the small tasks: washing bandages, cleaning blood, recording casualty files. Young soldiers laughed. "Medics only know bandages. Don't expect much more." Some even mocked, "Want to be a real soldier? Try lifting a Barrett." Claire remained silent. After duty hours, she'd go to the shooting range alone, recording wind direction and breathing patterns, the kind details nobody noticed. She shared her water ration with new recruits, quietly mended torn boots for teammates, cleaned shared rifle stocks so others wouldn't slip. But she never bragged. Her image was always tied to the small medic nobody cared about. Every morning, Claire arrived first at the medical tent. She'd organize supplies with military precision, check expiration dates, and prepare trauma kits that might save lives. When soldiers came in with minor injuries, she treated them with the same care she'd give to critical wounds. "You don't need to waste time on my scraped knee," a young Marine once told her. "Every wound matters," Claire replied, applying antiseptic with steady hands. Small infections kill as many soldiers as big battles. During mess hall time, she sat alone, reading technical manuals while others laughed and socialized. The books weren't medical texts. They were ballistics guides, wind calculation tables, and sniper training materials. But she kept the covers turned down, hiding her true interests. When equipment needed maintenance, Claire volunteered for the boring jobs: cleaning optics, calibrating scopes, organizing ammunition. The weapons specialists appreciated her help, but never thought to ask why she was so knowledgeable about rifle mechanics. "Strange kid," one sergeant mentioned to another. "Knows more about barrel harmonics than some of our shooters." "She's just a medic," came the dismissive reply. "Probably read it in a manual somewhere." But Claire's knowledge came from experience, not books. Late at night, when the base was quiet, she'd practice dry fire drills in her bunk, working trigger control and breathing techniques. Her muscle memory was precise, professional, deadly. A logistics soldier remembered, "Once I got a minor burn from a misfiring rifle, too embarrassed to report it. Next morning the wound was cleaned and bandaged. I knew only Claire did it, because she left a small gauze pad with 'Stay safe' written in tiny letters." The unit prepared for Operation Raga Mountain. When assignments were given, Claire was dismissed. "No medic needed out there. Stay at base." She didn't argue, just quietly packed her gear away. That night, a SEAL accidentally saw Claire sitting alone with an old Barrett .050 caliber. He was shocked when she took a practice shot at a target over 2 kilometers away and hit center mass. "When did you train for this?" Claire just smiled. "It's a habit from Fallujah." Rumors spread. Maybe she actually learned marksmanship. But other soldiers mocked. A medic shooting? The sky would fall first. From Claire's bag, a silver patch with Shadow Medic long shot was glimpsed briefly. Some veterans grew suspicious. Long shot. Wasn't that the call sign of the rescue sniper in Fallujah? But nobody dared ask directly, because her file was classified. The SEAL who'd seen her shoot was Staff Sergeant Rodriguez. He'd been in enough combat to recognize real skill versus weekend warrior fantasies. The way Claire handled the Barrett wasn't amateur enthusiasm. It was professional muscle memory. That shooting position, he told his buddy later. Textbook prone, perfect natural point of aim, proper bone support. She's done this before. Come on, Rod. She's a medic. Yeah? So was Carlos Hathcock before he became the most famous sniper in Marine history? Rodriguez started watching Claire more carefully. During equipment checks, he noticed how she instinctively verified scope 0, tested trigger pull weight, and examined ammunition for consistency. These weren't things you learned from medical training. When new soldiers arrived and complained about rifle accuracy, Claire would casually suggest minor adjustments. Try moving your cheek weld slightly. Forward, or that scope might be tracking off. Check the mounting screws. Her advice was always correct. One evening, Rodriguez found Claire's shooting log hidden under medical supplies. Pages of meticulous data, temperature, humidity, barometric pressure, wind speed at various altitudes, bullet drop calculations for different ranges. This wasn't hobby-level record-keeping. This was sniper-grade precision data. Where did this come from? He wondered aloud. Claire appeared behind him, calm but alert. Some habits die hard. What habits? She hesitated, then pulled out a faded photo. Herself in full ghillie suit, holding a different rifle, standing with a team of Army Rangers. The timestamp showed Fallujah, 3 years ago. I wasn't always just a medic, she said quietly. Rodriguez studied the photo. In the background, he could see urban warfare destruction, the kind of environment that created legendary snipers or killed them trying. Why the switch to medical? Claire's jaw tightened. Sometimes saving lives feels better than taking them. But the skills, they stay with you. The Barrett you were using tonight? Needs recalibration. The scope's been dropped, probably tracking 2 minutes right. I could fix it. Rodriguez looked at this small woman who cleaned wounds by day and could potentially put rounds through enemy heads at impossible distances. The contradiction should have been jarring, but somehow it made perfect sense. Does command know? My file says what it needs to say. Nothing more. The real proof at Act 2's end. A tech specialist revealed, I saw her carefully recording wind conditions, humidity levels, and shooting angles in a notebook. Not like someone trying for fun. She studied it like a scientist. The next morning, Operation Raga Mountain would launch without her. But Rodriguez had a feeling Claire Donovan's story wasn't finished yet. Night assault on Raga Mountain. The SEAL unit intercepted the enemy, but was pinned in a difficult position. Through binoculars, the commander saw 3 enemy generals commanding the battle from their central tent. He shook his head. Over 3 kilometers. No one can make that shot. We have to withdraw. Claire stood up, shouldering the Barrett. Give me a chance. Soldiers laughed mockingly. The medic wants to play sniper? The commander hesitated, but finally nodded. You have 1 minute. Claire lay down, spread her shooting mat, mounted the scope, and opened her old notebook. She controlled her breathing, read the wind using a small ribbon tied to the barrel. 1 long breath. Boom! The first shot flew for several seconds, striking the first general dead center. Enemy forces panicked. The commander's jaw dropped. Claire adjusted slightly. Second shot. The second general fell. The third shot followed immediately, tearing through the night like thunder. The final target collapsed. The entire enemy position dissolved into chaos. Without leadership, their organized defense crumbled, and the SEALs successfully counterattacked. But the story behind these shots was more complex than anyone realized. Claire's notebook contained 3 years of data from Fallujah. Every shot she'd taken as long shot, every variable she'd encountered, every lesson learned in urban combat. She'd brought that knowledge to the mountains, adapting desert techniques to high-altitude conditions. The first shot was the hardest. Cold bore, unknown rifle, unfamiliar environment. But Claire had spent hours the night before, when everyone thought she was organizing medical supplies, actually zeroing the Barrett in secret. She'd used the excuse of inventory checking to test different ammunition lots, finding the most consistent batch. Her breathing technique came from sniper school, but also from medical training. The same steady hands that sutured arteries could hold crosshairs perfectly still. The same calm focus that saved lives in surgery could take lives at 3,000 meters. Winds gusting 8 to 12 knots, left to right, she whispered to herself. Temperature drops since sunset, air density increasing. Compensate 1 minute left, 2 minutes up. The first general was coordinating artillery strikes on SEAL positions. Through her scope, Claire could see him pointing at a map, directing fire that would kill her teammates. The moral equation was simple: 1 shot to save dozens of lives. The Barrett's recoil was massive, but Claire rode it perfectly, maintaining sight picture for target assessment. Clean hit, center mass. The general dropped immediately. "Holy shit," someone whispered over radio. She actually hit him. The second general was reaching for radio equipment, probably calling for reinforcements or evacuation. Claire cycled the bolt smoothly, chambering a fresh round. The enemy was alerted now, but panic made them predictable. The second target stood in exactly the wrong place, silhouetted against tent lighting. Another perfect shot. The third general was the smartest. He went prone immediately, trying to crawl to cover. But Claire had studied the terrain extensively. She knew there was only one route to the nearest bunker, and she pre-aimed at the choke point. When the general appeared in her crosshairs, she was ready. The final shot ended the enemy's command structure completely. 3 shots, 3 kills in under 90 seconds, the kind of shooting that became military legend. "Long shot actual to all units," she said into her radio, using her old call sign for the first time in years. "Command targets neutralized. You are cleared hot for final assault." The entire team was speechless. A combat medic had just executed the most difficult sniper mission any of them had witnessed. As SEALs advanced on the now leaderless enemy position, Rodriguez approached Claire. She was already disassembling the Barrett, cleaning it with the same methodical care she used for medical instruments. "That wasn't luck," he said. "No," Claire replied. "That was 3 years of training, applied correctly." "Why didn't you tell us?" Claire looked at the chaos below, where enemy soldiers were surrendering without leadership. "Because being a medic is who I am now. Being long shot is just what I can do when people need saving." The commander approached, his voice shaking. "You just did what no one thought possible." Claire simply nodded. "I just did what needed doing." After the battle, everyone celebrated. Claire quietly went to the armory to clean the Barrett. Young soldiers walked past. No one dared mock her anymore. Someone said softly, "Thank you. Without you, we'd all be dead." Claire replied, "Don't thank me. Protect each other. That's why I'm here." The commander gave her a silver commemorative coin, saying, "I thought no one could make that shot. You made me believe again in underestimated people." The entire camp changed. No more dismissing medics, no more underestimating female soldiers. But the real change was deeper than respect. Claire had shown them something profound about hidden potential, about the danger of assumptions, about the heroes hiding in plain sight. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez organized a meeting with senior leadership. We need to talk about how we evaluate personnel. We almost missed the best marksman in the unit because she was carrying medical supplies instead of a rifle. The base commander nodded thoughtfully. How many other Claire Donovans do we have? How many specialists are we wasting because they don't fit our preconceptions? On the honor board, the name Longshot appeared, but Claire took it down, storing it away. Names don't matter. What matters is that we're all still alive. That evening, she returned to the medical tent, resuming her duties as if nothing had happened. But soldiers lined up with minor injuries they'd previously ignored, wanting to be treated by the medic who'd saved them all. "You don't have to pretend anymore," one young Marine told her. "We know who you really are." Claire smiled, applying ointment to his scraped knuckles with the same precision she'd used to adjust her rifle scope. "I'm exactly who I've always been, a medic who learned some additional skills. Will you teach us? Shooting? That takes years of training." "No," the Marine said, "how to see people clearly, how to not judge by appearances." Claire paused in her work. That was the real lesson, wasn't it? Not marksmanship, but perception. Not the ability to hit distant targets, but the ability to recognize nearby talent. "Start by looking past uniforms," she said. "Past job titles, past assumptions. Everyone here has skills you don't know about. Everyone here has potential you haven't seen. Have you ever witnessed someone being underestimated who then proved their worth? If so, type, 'I was wrong,' to remind yourself not to judge too quickly." Claire Donovan was once called just a medic. But one night, she fired 3 shots that changed everything. The lesson: society rushes to judge based on appearances, but true value only shows when crisis strikes. Heroes don't need titles, only steady hands when everything falls apart. And maybe, around us, there are still quiet Claires, doing the right thing when no one else dares. The military learned something important that night. Expertise doesn't always wear the expected uniform. The person organizing medical supplies might be your best marksman. The quiet soldier cleaning equipment might be your most experienced veteran. The woman carrying bandages might be carrying the skills to save your entire mission. 6 months later, the military implemented new evaluation protocols. Every soldier was assessed for hidden skills, cross-training opportunities, and untapped potential. They called it the Longshot Protocol, not after Claire's shooting, but after her example of looking beyond the obvious. Claire continued serving as a medic, but now she also trained select personnel in advanced marksmanship. Her students learned more than shooting techniques. They learned to see clearly, judge fairly, and recognize the heroes hiding in plain sight. If you believe in quiet stories like this one, leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to SN Quiet Stories. We tell the stories that shouldn't be forgotten.